Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Oscar Toledo, who's the president of Toledo Insurance. We'll be talking about Social Security claiming options. Oscar, welcome to the program.
Mike, thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm excited to talk with you because I know that you have a lot of research you've been doing and you stay up to date in the industry, making sure that everything that you're advising your clients is spot on and accurate, up to date. So I'm excited to learn from you, but get us started with a little bit of your story and your background. How did you get into the financial services industry?
Well, thank you, Mike. I first got into the insurance industry back in 1997. Started off with PNC Insurance. I did that right out of college, but 4 years after that, I had an opportunity to work with a group that was really focusing on retirement planning, on life insurance, and that was in 2002. And I have to admit, Mike, that really changed my perspective in regards to what I wanted to do for the rest of my life in helping other individuals with their finances, with helping them leave behind a legacy that they can be proud of. So since 2002, I've been working in the financial industry, working with hundreds of thousands of clients, and it's been a blessing. It's been a great experience.
You know, it's really interesting because I didn't hear you say, hey, I found a better way to make a bunch of money. I heard you say, I found a way to serve my clients and to give them peace of mind and to help them out understand complicated financial topics. That's the mark of a true champion, when you are hearing that people care about others. And that leads to relationships, right? You're not looking to close a deal, close business. You're looking to open relationships and serve your clients.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we do here with Toledo Insurance is we help a client by empowering them with knowledge, with information that will help them make better decisions for their future. Mike, I'll tell you, the process that we take our clients through is to always be open, honest, and transparent with all the information that we share with them. We always respect whatever decision they make, and anything that they do share with us is very confidential. So we're trying to provide that platform where they can go ahead and give us some details in regards to what are their biggest fears with their portfolio, with their retirement, with the possibility of running out of money. But if they know that we're not here to try and push them towards making a decision as quickly as possible, that we're not here to make it an inconvenient for them, or to make them feel like they're not doing a good job. That's not what we're about. Granted, sometimes we have to have a difficult conversation, but we try and do it in the most respectful way so that they're well informed and they can get back on track to where they want to get.
Yeah. You know, I know today we're talking about Social Security claiming options, and that's a vast and broad topic. And you mentioned, you know, running out of money in retirement. Well, you know, Social Security, no matter, everybody's different. They're going to get different amounts. So once you dial that in, that might not be enough. So you need to have that extra additional outside retirement account. So that's wonderful that you work with clients that way. But today we're looking at Social Security income, and they tie together, because if you make the wrong Social Security claiming options and decisions, now that could impact the nest egg that you've set aside for yourself. And so I think that's really powerful. What are you finding when you're advising your clients regarding Social Security? What are some of those low-hanging fruit pieces of information you're bringing to their attention?
Well, Mike, one of the things that we do with our clients when it comes to Social Security is, again, to be informed. Here's the thing. When it comes to maximizing Social Security income, there are several rules when it comes to governing that, and ways on how to take Social Security. And when you start coordinating that with your outside retirement resources, such as a pension, and a pension if you're fortunate enough to have one, right? Maybe you don't have a pension. Maybe you have a 401k. An IRA, a Roth, a SEP, your individual brokerage accounts or after-tax savings, it gets very complicated. Then you throw in the factor if you're married, or how old is your spouse, or perhaps you're divorced. Did you remarry? Did your ex-spouse get remarried? Or maybe you're a widow. There's a lot of factors that come to considering how to maximize your Social Security. And that's what we try and do. We try and bring some clarity to what is out there, so they can make a better decision.
Yeah. Clarity is so huge because I think that a lot of times when you see the path forward with maybe a checklist or a blueprint or here's the next step, it makes it feel like, okay, well, I can do that step. And you don't look at the whole thing all at once and feel overwhelmed. So when you think about Social Security, there's a lot of ages that I think we all hear about on the news or, online. And it's like, oh, you can, get Social Security starting at this age, that age, the other age. What are the ages? How does that work? Can you claim early? And what are some of the pros and cons of claiming at one age versus another?
Well, Mike, while you're allowed to start taking Social Security at age 62, it's a good idea, if possible, to wait until you're age 70 to start taking that. A reason somebody would want to take their Social Security early is either they need the additional income early on due to unemployment, they did not have enough money saved up for retirement, maybe they took some big losses due to stock market volatility, or there were some bad investments. And the big one is, of course, health. If an individual is not in good health and is not expected to live long, then taking Social Security early may make sense. But I'll tell you, Mike, I recently read a recent survey that 30% of pre-retirees expect to draw Social Security before full retirement age.
Hmm.
But about a quarter of those who tapped into Social Security early say they now regret doing so. That's because your retirement benefit grows every year that you wait. So if you're currently at the full retirement age of 66, for instance, waiting until you're 70 years old to claim will raise your retirement benefit at a guaranteed 8% annually.
Wow.
What does that mean? That means a higher paycheck.
That's huge. And like you said, everybody's different. You might just desperately need to have those benefits and money kicking in at the earlier age. But what if you sat down with someone who took that comprehensive approach to looking at your situation and said, well, if we move this here and we did this, now you could delay that Social Security to the maximum because 8% a year for several years compounded, that could be some big dollars in your back pocket. And some, like that study, I think that's so telling. That 25% of the 30% that took it early, that could be a big number out there that is sitting there going, I wish I had waited because I could have. I just didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and I know in some cases, delaying Social Security could also be a good idea. Let me give you an example. Besides potentially receiving a higher payout, delayed claiming could be a great idea, especially for a married couple. So here's what I mean by that, Mike. If you both worked, but your spouse made significantly more income, you may want to claim the spousal benefit instead of taking your own retirement benefit. So what I'm referring to is signing a restricted application to claim just your spousal benefit now and wait till full retirement age or older to claim your own retirement benefit, which by that time could be a greater amount. Even if you're divorced, here's something that you should know: you can still claim spousal benefits based on the earning record of your ex-spouse, as long as both of you are 62 or older and you were married for at least 10 years or more. Your ex-spouse cannot oppose this and does not have to claim Social Security in order for you to make your claim.
Huh.
As long as you've been divorced for at least 2 years and you are not currently married.
Now, I'll bet you that there's some study out there that would document this, but I'll bet there are many, many, many people that are divorced and that fall into those qualifications and assume incorrectly, well, I'm not married to that person anymore, so I guess I can't. Well, now if you were married this time and you still aren't, all those qualifications you just mentioned, that could be very helpful for someone. And again, it just gets down to the fact that we don't know what we don't know. And when someone like yourself, who's a specialist in working with families on retirement and Social Security, you're asking these questions and you are knowing what you're looking for and you're asking all of these questions. And now you're making recommendations going, well, and I think that it would be so rewarding to sit with a client who thinks that they can't claim Social Security on an ex-spouse, but now you are showing them that they can, and it just would be life-changing for them.
Absolutely. It's important to be as informed as possible before you make these decisions, because here's one of the words that I think some of our clients don't like to hear, which is irrevocable, because that's what this decision is, right? So once you turn on Social Security as an example, you're making a rest of your life decision once you file.
Oh,
A mistake can easily result in tens of thousands of dollars in lost cumulative Social Security benefits. And from a couple's perspective, sometimes it could exceed over $100,000 in cumulative lifetime
mm.
benefits that could be forfeited by making a decision that is not in their best interest. So, for that reason, Mike, it's a good idea to be informed, to be informed on what is out there, what options do we have, and quite frankly, when you work with an insurance professional, a financial advisor that is also a specialist in Social Security, you're getting that extra benefit that you might not be getting from other people.
When you were describing that, a thought popped in my mind, and we've probably all heard this. Measure twice, cut once. Because once you've made that cut, that board is cut. Well, irrevocable is a really powerful term. And if you make that wrong decision, and it's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you get in a different line, you always tend to look back where you were, like, did I make the right choice? You want to make sure you've got all the bases covered going into making that Social Security decision. I'm glad you brought that up because irrevocable is a really powerful word. I think that these days we all get to the point where, oh, my device broke. Let me just Google that. Oh, there's the answer. Click, click, fix. Okay, next. And we're busy and we want answers right now. And we know we can get them from online to Chat GPT to whatever we're hearing out there. I think that sometimes people might go, oh, that's great. I need to make some Social Security claiming options. Let me go Google that. What do you say to someone that says, hey, I don't need your help because I can just go to places like Google, or I can go to the Social Security Administration. They've got an office in my town.
Well, good question. First of all, Mike, we encourage our clients to do their own research. It's always encouraged. Educating yourself on a topic empowers you to be more knowledgeable on that particular topic so you can make a better decision on what's best for you. But also be careful, because if this is not something that you do full time, if this is not something that you're very knowledgeable, or something that you keep up to date on everything that's going on, you can very easily get lost and sometimes misdirected. Let me give you an example. I've heard this before so many times. I've even experienced it myself when I started having some symptoms. And you go to WebMD and you start doing some research and you start entering all the symptoms that you have, and before you know it, out comes all these different diagnoses that you might have. And what happens? You start really
Yep.
getting worried because you're
Yep.
so and I'll tell you, and that could impact whether you decide to go to a doctor, whether you decide to take certain medication, do different things based on the research that you did on your own, without taking the time to go to a professional, in this case to go to a doctor, to get an MRI, to do the appropriate diagnosis. Sometimes that's what we need to do. We can definitely do our own research. I recommend it, but at all times you should, for at least for me, you should talk to an quote unquote expertise in that topic. That doesn't mean that you have to be their client,
Yeah.
but for
Someone that
you to get
knows.
that advice, it's important.
Yeah. It makes me think of like someone that like has a little bit of knowledge, like, oh yeah, well, I do something in, I did your mortgage, so I can advise you on this because I took a class once. No, we wanted to talk with someone that has specific knowledge in the financial planning, the retirement planning, the Social Security planning, because it keeps them really, really dialed in. Like what you've said, you've researched studies that are really recent. You see what the changes are, the questions to ask, and now that client knows that they're getting the most relevant, up-to-date advice to consider. Now, I think what you've said all the way through this conversation is really interesting, because you're not saying this client must do that and they're going to fit the square peg in a round hole. No, you are educating people. You're showing them some options. You're showing them pros and cons and letting them make the decision based on what is best for them.
That's absolutely correct. And I believe when you're able to do that for a client, it gives them more confidence in what their future could potentially look like. Granted, there's certain things, life happens, that can create somebody to do some type of audible with their finances, with their life. But for the most part, what you're encouraging the client to do is to really understand what their path looks like to get them to where they want to be. Because if they're not well informed, if they don't really understand the process that somebody put in front of them, then at that point they're doing not only themselves but their family a huge disservice. So we want to make sure that they're very knowledgeable and they understand what decisions they're making.
100%. Well, I think that it's so neat too when you can talk to someone that's been in the industry as long as you have, and you've seen cases and examples, and you can probably sit down with the client and say, you know what, one time I was working with this one client who I can't mention names, but they had this scenario and they were able to accomplish this, and we showed them. And being able to draw from your years of experience is really comforting to someone to realize that you're not just someone that just heard about this strategy and let's give it a shot. You have a decade or more of experience, or decades of experience, to where you can draw on that, give them the best possible advice, and you're not going to disappear when they set it up. You're going to be right there along with them to help them make future decisions along the way.
That's absolutely right, Mike.
Well, Oscar, it's been so great chatting with you here. This is such an important topic for people to understand. If someone is interested in connecting with you and learning more, what's the best way that they can reach out and connect?
Well, they can definitely reach out to me personally. I'll go ahead and provide my cell phone number, since I try and keep that type of relationship with my clients, and they're more than welcome to also send me a text if that's more convenient to them. But my phone number, it's 714-317-3913.
Excellent. And then that way you can give them like an assessment or an overview of what some of their options would be.
Absolutely. I would be more than happy to, and it would be complimentary. I don't want them to feel like, well, how much is Oscar and his company going to charge? This is complimentary. We want to get to know what your goals are, what you're looking to accomplish, and we will, even if it's just simply a second opinion, we can provide that as well.
Spectacular. Well, Oscar, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.